Hello and welcome to another product video breakdown from Longhorn Tactical. Today we will be taking a look at the Olight Valkyrie Turbo.
Hey y'all, take this time to like and subscribe to the Longhorn Tactical YouTube channel. Thanks.
Olight boasts that the Valkyrie Turbo is the world's first LEP, or Laser Excited Phosphor, rail attachment light, specifically designed for pistols, because they also released the Odin Turbo, which would be an LEP variant for more so designed for Picatinny rails and is rifle based. So this models after the same size relative to their original PL1s or PL2 Valkyries, a little bit longer but slightly less tall compared to their Balder series, which has the laser attachment on the bottom. And because of its LEP designation, the Olight Valkyrie Turbo does have the Class 1 laser designation, which is etched into the bottom of the light itself. And customary to LEP style flashlights, it produces an incredibly concentrated beam, a hotspot only, with absolutely no spill whatsoever. The Olight Valkyrie Turbo comes with only one mode, and that is 250 lumen max. The candela rating is 70,225. From that, one can infer that it is indeed an incredibly concentrated beam of light. And thus, if you are like me, you are probably thinking, one of the immediate intuitive shortcomings of LEP lights that initially come to mind, at least when they were first introduced, in a vast plane, and by that I mean visual field, not like plane as in terrain. One especially with particularly repetitive features or homogeneous textures as a whole. Would one be able to easily discern where this was pointing at? Now I will artificially generate this sort of situation for you. For instance, if you are in a heavily wooded area where all of the trees are relatively samey, and of course, the implication is that this is far away, in a remote area without any light pollution from nearby cities, and it is actually completely dark. With this very specific hotspot concentrated beam of light, if you pointed it at a location where you heard a sound from, would you be able to actually discern precisely where that tree is relative to the other trees next to you or around you? That is one of the initial drawbacks that immediately came to mind when I first encountered LEP lights. How would one be able to communicate that situation? To further clarify, an obvious drawback of having such a distinct and clean hotspot with no spill, you can actually see in the marketing images provided by Olight themselves that you don't get any relative understanding of the environment that you're shining the light at. For instance, take a look at this image. If you're this operative SWAT team guy, I'm not really sure. If you kick down the door to this warehouse and you enter and you shine your light, I mean, you have no idea what's over here in these dark areas. You would essentially have to sweep the light from one end to the other end continuously, whereas with a light that has a hotspot, but also incidental spill light, depending on how the reflector is designed, it could be wider or floodier. Essentially what I'm trying to say is you get a greater understanding of the overall environment with that spill light section, instead of just the one concentrated hotspot area. However, one does not need to be too concerned in that sort of situation with the Olight Valkyrie Turbo. The assumption being that this was designed specifically for handguns, and handguns really shouldn't be used for any particular, unless it's really required for any long distance applications. The more realistic approach being, if this is a weapon light that you affix to your handgun for self-defense purposes or something to keep on the nightstand, so in a smaller enclosed area that is dark, a far more realistic situation, the concentrated intensity of the light in and of itself, just naturally reflecting off of even the surfaces that aren't particularly reflective, does provide enough incidental spill light to illuminate a small dark room. Now to take a step away from realism, the Olight Valkyrie Turbo has a maximum beam throw of 579 yards. Now I personally don't know many people that would be able to confidently or with any meaningful degree of success be able to shoot accurately a pistol or a handgun up to 500 yards. 579 yards to be specific. However, don't let that dissuade you, because as reported by the World Record Academy, a former United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent, Victor Avila, holds the record for the longest shot recorded on a handgun, which is 2,010 yards, and it was done with an ELR Systems 10mm handgun. And there is some discrepancy in that regard because he did use a pistol brace, which adds that third point of contact, so some of the purists don't really consider that to be legitimate, in which case the venerable Jerry Michalek, of course, did his 1,000-yard shot with the Smith & Wesson 929, a revolver. No brace. So, 579 yards, very doable. When I first received the Olight Valkyrie Turbo and tested it, an immediate benefit, well by that I mean more so theory, came to mind. And that is, because the beam is so concentrated, and according to the United States FBI's database on self-defense shooting situations, the vast majority happen at 7 yards. So that is considered like the unofficial range to test things at. How big would this circle appear at 7 to 10 yards? And the answer is what you see on screen right now. It roughly covers the size of a man's size, torso region. So with that in mind, I thought to myself, this would allow somebody that is equipped with the Valkyrie Turbo to their handgun to be able to aim very quickly, and not necessarily, they wouldn't have to aim precisely is what I mean by lining up the sights, but just by spot aiming and lining up that circle to the individual. And as long as they don't have any really serious trigger jerk or flinching reactions, they should be able to hit somewhere within that circle and you'd be good to go. We tested this theory at the range. The footage you'll be seeing on screen right now, I instructed the shooter to just begin at the low ready, activate the light, aim up, and as soon as he lined up the light to the target, to just pull. And the results you see on screen are what you get with a rather competent shooter. As a matter of fact, he was quite surprised with the results himself. Here is the installation guide of the Olight Valkyrie Turbo. First, the Olight Valkyrie Turbo, like many of Olight's pistol rail flashlights, come with a Glock tab labeled GL, as well as a Picatinny rail tab labeled 1913. It also comes with a H1.5 Allen wrench, which you use to remove these two small bolts, take it out, and install the plate that corresponds to what you have. If you own a Glock, it comes out of the box with the Glock tab installed. If you have a handgun that uses a more traditional Picatinny rail, just swap out the GL tab for the 1913 tab. Like most of Olight's handgun rail-based flashlights, it comes with their quick detach system. So just pull back on this tab here. Facing towards the rear is the locked position. Facing towards the front, towards the LEP module, is the open position. Once it is open, the rail clamp is now loose, very springy, so it'll clamp on. So just line up the rail tooth to the rail slot. Once you see that the clamps are over both sides, just pull back on the tab and lock it back. Once secured, you will find that the Olight Valkyrie Turbo is ambidextrous. It has a switch on this side which you push inwards, like so, and a switch on the opposite side, where you also push inwards, like so. It comes with 3 functions. You can click the switch on for constant on, click again to deactivate, or if you hold for more than a second, releasing it is how you activate the momentary mode. So as long as you hold for more than a second, the light will deactivate upon release. And at any time, tapping both buttons simultaneously is how you activate the strobe mode. And now a brief warning / disclaimer. The Valkyrie Turbo in this regard is a double-edged sword. There's a clear benefit, but also something one must heed and take caution for. Because the light is so intensely concentrated, I haven't tested it myself, but please do not shine this light directly into your eyes or the eyes of anyone you care about. It is potentially dangerous. Now, although LEP lights are classified as lasers because there is a laser inside, the laser inside isn't actually being directly shot out. The laser is being shot at a crystallized bit of phosphor, which it then activates the outer layer of electrons, and then that's what's generating the visible light that we see. So it's not a direct laser beam, like a laser pointer, that is being shot out, which we know is actually very dangerous. However, LEP lights, their very nature, because they are so very concentrated, I would still highly warn, do not shine this into your eyes. It could cause very serious damage to your retinas. On the other hand, because it's a rail light for a handgun, arguably the light should be, for all intents and purposes, be used for self-defense. In which case, I think this is the first actual time that I find it believable when a strobe light could be considered a real deterrent For instance, in a situation where you do have an aggressor, and this, if you were to point it at their face, I think it would be a real deterrent. I always found that argument to be rather spurious with LED-based lights because yes, it's very jarring and it's uncomfortable, and yes, with high enough lumens, LED lights, and of course with long enough exposure, anything of that intensity is very damaging, potentially damaging to the eyes. With this one, I would not want to be strobed. So yeah, this might be the first ever rail-based light that actually is a meaningful deterrent when it comes to its strobe function. The Olight Valkyrie Turbo is powered by two CR123A primary lithium-ion batteries. Replacing the batteries is very easy. Once you have removed it from your handgun, you will see a pull open tab on the rear of the light. Just pull up on that tab, like so, and this will lift up the back latch. Take out the old batteries and install the new ones. You'll see that on the latch gate, you'll see a positive and negative sign letting you know how to orient the new batteries. Like so. Afterwards, you can't just close it. You have to close it and make sure to push back down to lock the tab. So yes, the Olight Valkyrie Turbo, quite possibly the first rail attachment for handguns that actually excited me. Of course there's that sheen of novelty because it uses LEP technology as opposed to LED technology. However, conceptually it makes sense. The practical application for anything under 10 yards, the concentrated spot, essentially creates the perfect frame for you to aim without really having to focus or aim precisely for those situations where every second matters. That concludes the product video breakdown of the Olight Valkyrie Turbo, a 250 lumen max LEP laser excited phosphor, highly concentrated 70,225 candela, 579 yard max rail attachment flashlight specifically designed for pistols and handguns. The Olight Valkyrie Turbo is available at longhorntactical.com. If you have enjoyed this video or think I am a big dumb fart, please leave a comment or suggestion below. To stay up to date on future product releases, sales announcements, and all things flashlight related, please consider subscribing to the Longhorn Tactical YouTube channel. And thank you.